And the way the whole AWS developer community has grown is really incredible. We now have 600 user groups all around the world, spanning 120 different countries. And the entire AWS community is many millions all around the world. And one of the great things about that community is we get feedback from you that goes directly into the products and informs what we build and announce here today. So thank you. Now, in 2006 is when I first started AWS, and at AWS when we launched the business. And our very first customers were startups. So startups have a really special place in my heart. And one of the things that I love about startups.
In the early days of AWS, basically, startups were the only pattern of companies that would take a risk on AWS. In other words, the idea of leveraging storage that you didn't own, in other words, physically located outside the company, was something that was new to most of the Global 2000 companies out there, and they were largely rejecting it. They weren't necessarily all in with the public cloud providers. However, startups, because they have little cash, and it used to be you had to buy your infrastructure, the minimum startup fee would be $1 million to get the infrastructure, hardware you need, and data center space to start a technology company. AWS and other cloud providers made that more affordable because you're able to leverage these kinds of resources as a service, and therefore it's going to save your cash that you would normally have to spend on capital stuff, servers and data centers, things like that, and running the company, which is a good thing. So true, he's right that most of the initial users of AWS technologies were startups, and I think that was wasn't necessarily by their design. I think that was the economic issues that these startups were dealing with at the time.
They're anxious to use new technologies. They will jump in, and they give us great feedback. They push us to innovate, they innovate on top of us, and they move really fast, and we learn a ton from startups.